I've told you that I'm super into villains, right? Once or twice? Yeah. So today we are doing a new villain soap to add to the line. And if you were here 2 days ago, you probably know what villain that is. But before I confirm your suspicions, even though the description and title has already done so for me, hi, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And today we are making the villainy things, and we are making Maleficent. Now, Maleficent is a very interesting character for me because she's very one-dimensional as far as the original, like, Disney cartoon thing went, right? She's just pure jealousy and pure evil. She's the Mistress of Evil. And so there's not a lot of depth to her character. But in the other like iterations of Maleficent since the original movie, so like the big movies with Angelina Jolie or the way she's portrayed in Once Upon a Time, you really start to see more humanness in her, which is cool because she has the humanness and can still turn into a freaking dragon, which is awesome. So yeah, we are making the Maleficent bar today. Now, I should actually say, I'm not making this. Georgia May is making this. I sort of bogarted the Sleeping Beauty accidentally, and so of course she was going to be making the Maleficent to go along with that pairing as well, and that's cool. I have not been able to make a Disney soap or villain soap since Anna, really, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to take some of this back from Georgia May, but she's having so much fun with it that I love to watch her design and her process, and you're going to love watching her design and process too. So, you know, let's go watch it, and I'm going to stop talking about it here. We're going to go there. What is up, Sudsers? Welcome back, and today we are doing a villain soap, which is all the awesome. And you had to know it's coming, right? I mean, we just did Sleeping Beauty, and so Maleficent, we got to do the thing. I mean, she is the Mistress of Evil, people. She's a very cool villain when you learn more of her backstory. From the actual like Disney original like cartoon, there's nothing to really explain like why she's so malevolent, right? Like there's nothing. She's just this crazy, jealous, psycho person who's going to destroy the lives of everyone just for funsies, but also she can turn into a dragon. And so that's cool, like, but not really, there's not a lot going on with Maleficent as far as the Disney movie is concerned, the original cartoon. But, you know, in the other variations of her, like in the Angelina Jolie movies, there was more depth that was, you know, brought to the character, which is cool. But still Mistress of Evil, the Mistress of Evil, like the baddiest of the baddies. I would say worse than the Evil Queen. I think definitely more powerful. And then also in Once Upon a Time, that show they did on ABC, right? They definitely gave her more of a backstory and made her, you know, more human, really, and someone that you could sort of relate to or feel sorry for or whatever. And in Descendants, I guess they didn't really do much in Descendants as far as like making her relatable, except for the fact that, hi, you have a kid. And that was kind of it. So there's Mal, and so maybe Maleficent is, but in that one, she was married to Hades, which is, or cool. Like, can you super tell that I love fairy tales and Disney and all of the things? I'm so jazzed that my kids are like now of the age where they're actually getting into these ridiculous over-the-top Disney movies, like not the not the theatrical Disney movies, but the made for Disney TV movies, because I love those. And so I have an excuse to, watch them and dance along and learn the choreography and all the things with my kids. And yeah, Descendants, I got to do that. Let's pour. So for the design of this bar, it is going to be similar in nature to Sleeping Beauties, right? To Briar Roses, but in completely contrasting ways, right? Because in the original cartoon with so Maleficent and Aurora, they sort of stand as absolute opposites, where Aurora is 100% good and innocent. Maleficent is not. She is the exact opposite of that. And so we are playing with that within these two designs, and that's awesome. So they can have their cool, counters with all of it. And the little horns there on the lower right-hand corner, those are obviously Maleficent's, horns. It's cool. And I think Georgia May made those out of soap dough. I'm not 100% sure though. We'll find out once we cut, and we'll see what they look like after saponification. And that purple is delightful. That is such a beautiful purple. And she is using, for this particular bar, a very cool blend. And I know I say that about all of them, but I mean, with the exception of the Creeper soap, where I just straight up came out and said, I don't like it. I think it smells like rotten flowers, but a lot of people really like it. For the most part, we do intentionally good scents that, people are going to like, because I obviously want you to, use the bar and not feel like you smell like a foot afterwards. So this blend is actually very cool. It's salty with rain notes, right? So very clean air. And then it has some lime in it, which is really crisp and tangy. And then it's actually the dry down on it is a rose and violet, much like the rose and violet we used for, I want to say it was Aowen's Butterflies and Blooms soap. And so there's some of that in there, along with the ocean air, salty, rain-y things, and then, lime. Very cool blend when it's all said and done, because it definitely has some cleanness to it, a little bit of tang, and then it mellows out to kind of an alluring, scent with the rose and violet. Across the board, it's really quite lovely. It's a very complex blend, and I think it pairs really well with the love spell that Georgia May accidentally did for the Sleeping Beauty soap. So that's cool. Also cool, the sculpted layer. She's doing such a rock star job with all of her sculpted layers here. She has the patience for it like you would not believe. And yeah, because it does. It's actually a lot of patience to, do the things and wait for the bottom layer to set up, and then keep your batter fluid throughout the rest of it without freaking out and trying to pour it too soon, and then you mess up your layer, or you can't actually pull a line through a sculpted layer, because that's the whole point of a sculpted layer, right? You're literally sculpting the wet soap batter. So you want it to firm up enough that if you were to pull something through it, that something would hold its shape. And she's doing a double with this. That's cool. I like it. And yeah, so she's the one that has the patience for this, for the sculpted layers. And I think she's into it. I think she likes sculpted layers. So I have an idea for a birthstone soap, and she is going to do that thing with some sculpted layers, because I don't really want to do it, but I do want to see what it looks like. And if she likes doing it, hey, cool. I will do all of the ombres and, gradients and thin lines, pours, and she can do the sculpted layers, because they're not fun. But so far, everything looks really good. Now, the batter that she used for this is the exact same one that we used for the Sleeping Beauty blend, right? Because we only had a whole bunch of swirls master batch at the moment, because we're waiting on oils and whatever. So that's all we had master batched. And so she added extra shea and coconut oil to this to make sure that it would you know, set up reasonably fast, and she wasn't working with super, you know, a super long trace, which again, super long trace is super awesome for swirls, but it's not so great for layers, really, because it takes too long to set it up and do the things. But she's doing an awesome job with the keeping everything at a reasonable fluidity throughout all of this. I would say that the only one that's going to be thick and kind of a pain to get in is going to be the final black portion, whatever she's going to do with that, because it's been sitting for a very long time, and I'm pretty sure it already has all the scent in it. And I have always found that once you put that scent in, whenever you put your essential oils or your fragrance oils or whatever it is that you're using, it tends to heat up the batter a little bit faster, and you know, it's all a thing for me. Now this one has, because you have the black there, and you saw her put the kaolin clay in the very beginning, this one has a double whammy with clay, which is awesome. And the same amount of kaolin is used for this bar as, you know, most of the other bars, so you know that amount is copious. And then you also put in a lot of the activated charcoal, so it makes for a really cool bar, a really hard bar with clays. The activated charcoal, it's great for just an overall detox and, you know, helping purge the pores. It's a mild exfoliant. It's delightful. Love that. Now, is she going to cut a... No, she's not. She's not going to do another sculpt into this layer. So she did 2 sculpted sections with all of this, and putting on the final here, which, yeah, see, like I said, that's the thick part. That's the part that's not going to be the most fun to put in. And she's putting it in on batter that's pretty wet still underneath. It's not fully set up there. So she might have some problems with, you know, dipping down and that line not being perfectly straight. But also with that, I don't know that you really need it to be perfectly straight. I mean, because you have Maleficent's, like, her horns, right? That kind of comes up like the thing, like for the Evil Queen, that I'm still not convinced it's actually called a balaclava. I asked her Mr. Soap and Clay about this, and I was like the thing that the nuns wear, right? And he said, I think that's just called a habit. But why would it be called a habit if it was... Is it a habit? The piece that goes, you know what I mean? The piece that goes over your hair so you can't see the neck or the hair. And so, anyway, Maleficent, she does have that kind of V that goes down her forehead there. So if the gray, greeny color there is meant to be like her face, which is totally what that is, now that I think about that, that's yes. Then the rest of it, if it dips down in the middle there where she was first putting the black, that totally works. So it really shouldn't be a completely stark line between like the face and the top of her, because she's a very angular villain anyway, isn't she? Like very angular. She has lots, like, if she wasn't like this pasty weird green, I would say that she was doing contouring like a boss, right? To get all those amazing high cheekbones and the crazy awesome jawline. But that's just her naturally. Like, she doesn't have to contour, it's just what she looks like. And so yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be completely straight from like the greeny gray portion to the black, is the point that I actually made like a bajillion rambles ago, and I'm just still going with it, you know. And I'm really kind of going with it because watching her mess with this super thick soap batter is actually causing me anxiety. Like, I don't like really thick soap batter. She doesn't seem to mind it though, but I am not a fan. I am a fan of the super thick soap batter being done though, and you get to immediately put your little soap toppers on. That's always fun because you don't have to wait for that to set up. So that's cool. And that's what she's gonna do right now. Now, I think this got C-popped. I'm pretty sure we were putting this in the oven. We were doing the gel thing. And so that leads me to believe that the horns are probably not melt and pour, but soap dough. But they're pretty shiny. And so melt and pour makes more sense with this. Again, we will see in the cut what they ultimately were, because if they're made with melt and pour, they're going to have some glycerin dew on them, likely. But, you know, regardless, this soap is all but done, and it is ready to be put in the oven for C-pop, for gel, or to be set aside on the counter overnight, and we will cut it in about, you know, 12-ish hours with this, as we do with the majority of our soaps. Cut them nice and soft so we can, you know, fix any sort of holes or cragginess or whatever. And so we will do that, you know, well, we're going to do it now for you, but, you know, in real time, this was done the following day. But that looks super, super cute. I love that. She's like perfect with the where she placed the horns. Like, it's just a perfect little line right down the thing. She's so good. You're good at all the things, Georgia May. Okay, and on to the cut, and I'm still not 100% sure whether or not this was C-popped. It looks really bright and shiny, and we got glycerin dew on that. So yeah, they were definitely made out of melt and pour, and I still don't know. I don't know if they were C-popped or not. I have no idea, no memory of it. So that's all okay. And, oh, I'm the one cutting this. Why am I cutting this? Why isn't Georgia May cutting this? Oh. Ooh, look at that. That is awesome. I love that soap. Oh my gosh, that is, holy, it's so good. And I love the purple that she did for it. It's especially when paired with that, you know, gray green there, because it's so good. She did so good on these bars. That is just beautiful. Oh yeah, it was C-popped. You see that? So we have a couple, not this bar, I mean maybe a little bit of this bar. Look at the horns as I'm pulling them out. They did melt a little bit at the top of the, like that one right there. Totally some melty going on, so it was definitely C-popped. And that's ballsy with melt and pour soaps, really. With soaps that have melt and pour embeds or anything in them. I mean, it worked out really well for the Ursula bar with the internal melt and pour embed. But for things like this, oh, that's terrifying. Like, what happens if they all melt and then your top of your soap is, you know, I have never taken that chance before, so I don't really know what happens. But I know that I love this soap, and it is absolutely super gorgeous and perfect. Like, you look at that, and even without the horns, you just, the color scheme and everything, you're like, that's totally Maleficent. And the smell on this, again, with the rain and the ocean air and the salt and the lime and the rose and the violet, it's, woof, it's a complicated one, and that's cool. And that's what her original design was, and hey, you did a good job. You're pretty darn close with that. I call that an absolute success. And it is super beautiful. That is day 180, Maleficent, and there it is paired with Briar Rose, which is super gorgeous. And you know, there's another shot of Maleficent. The contrast between Maleficent and the Sleeping Beauty bar, just so delightful. They go together so well. And I really love everything that Georgia did with this soap, right down to the purple and also the greeny gray for like the face of Maleficent, because like the cartoon is, yeah. And the scent blend for this was absolutely great too. Like, she had the Love Spell, which ended up going into the Sleeping Beauty bar, the Briar Rose, paired with this cool like rose and violet, plus some really bright tones, clean tones as well. It ended up being a really good like pairing between the two bars. Obviously they stand very well on their own as well, so that's awesome. If you are interested in purchasing the Maleficent bar, you can totally find it on the website. It's at soapandclay.com. I have decided to start pairing the Princess and Villain where I can soaps together, so that's also an option. If you're interested in that, you can get Sleeping Beauty and you can get Maleficent, and that's cool. If you're interested in seeing what other soapy antics we get up to, you should subscribe to the channel, because we get up to a lot of soapy antics, really, and it's a lot of fun. You should come back and be a part of it. For those of you who are coming back and have continued to be a part of it, thank you. I really appreciate you. You are amazing human beings, and I'm glad that you joined me for another round of 365 days of soap. For today, I am all done, so I will see you guys all again tomorrow.